All right, the most complicated part of chapter 7-4 is this idea of when do I need these absolute value signs that start appearing in the answer. So to explain that, I want to remind you of a couple things. First of all, a principal root is the positive answer to a question. For example, if I asked you what the square root of 9 is, most students would say 3. And we know that's true. 3 times 3 is 9. However, we also know that negative 3 times negative 3 also gets us 9. So that is a square root, but it's not what we call the principal root. So for these problems, we don't want to include negative 3 as our answer. We want to just talk about the principal root of these equations. So when I have an option of whether or not something is positive or negative, I'm always choosing the positive one. Now, I might be doing a cube root in which I could be asked the cube root of negative 8, and there would only be one answer possible for that. It would have to be a minus 2, because negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 would get you negative 8. So in this situation, it's okay for it to be a negative number because there's no other choice available. It simply has to be negative 2. So let's talk about this absolute value sign. When I do a problem like this one, and I find the square root of the number, the square root of 4 is going to be, of course, 2, and the square root of x squared is, of course, going to be x. Well, here's the problem. If the x value is negative, then everything inside here, if I square it, is going to end up being positive, which means the square root of this number should be a positive answer. But unfortunately, if I chose a negative number for x, this answer would be a negative something. So we need these things called an absolute value because it reminds us that if x was negative, I get a positive answer, and that's what I need to have. I need this. I need this, this root to be positive. So I'm going to put an absolute value sign on the x because I'm not sure. X could be negative 3, which means my answer would be 6, not negative 6. But if I put a negative 3 in for x, it becomes negative 6. So here's the 3 things that have to happen in order for me to have one of these little pink absolute value bars. First of all, I need the even root index. So right here, the index of this is 2. So that one's satisfied. Number 2, I need an even power inside. Well, that 2 right there, that's an even power. So if that's true, this one's satisfied. And number 3, I need an odd power outside, which means my answer, which has a power of 1, also satisfies it. So if these 3 things are satisfied, I need absolute value signs on it to turn it back into a positive number. So let's try this one. So I have the square root of x to the 6. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this would turn into x to the 3rd. And y to the 4th divided by 2 is going to be y squared. So let's see. Do I need absolute values for this one right here? Well, do I have an even root index? Index is 2. So yes, I do. Do I have an even power inside? Well, 6 and 4 are both even. Yes, I do. Do I have an odd power outside? Well, that one's not odd, but that one is. So I'm going to put absolute value signs around that one. Why doesn't this need absolute value signs? Well, because if y was negative and I square it, I'd get a positive answer anyway, because any number negative squared turns positive. So this squared actually acts as the absolute value signs for this part of the problem. All right, let's try this one. I have the cube root of a to the 9th, so 9 divided by 3 is 3, a to the 3rd. I have the cube root of b to the 3rd, so I have b. So let's go through our checklist. 1, do I have an even root index? No, I don't. So since this is an odd number, this problem here is okay. It does not need any absolute value signs. All right, what about the next one? I got the 4th root of a to the 4th. That's going to be a. And the 4th root of c, 8 divided by 4 is 2, so it's going to be c squared. Let's go back to my list. So here's my list. Even root index? Yeah, it's a 4. Got that. Even power inside? 4 and 8? Absolutely, got that. Odd power outside. Yeah, the A has an odd power, the C doesn't. So I do have some of that, and it's only going to go on my A. So what about the last one down here? Have the square root of 9, 3. It Some people are like, do I need absolute value signs on the 3? No, it's 3. It's positive already because I wrote it there. So 6 is going to turn in x to the 3rd, and y to the 8th comes out and becomes y to the 4th. So even root index, yes. Even power index inside, yes. Odd power outside, only on the cube. So this one's going to be the absolute value of x cubed. And that's it. Very nice.